here. Bob Coelho's here, Gus Miller's here, Tiffany Conklin's here, Sue Wolf's here, Alan Kaplowitz is here. And Jeff is representing and my side of it for the staff.
Okay. All right. Proper notice has been given.
Yes, posted on the 3rd of July.
Okay. So I'll let you,
Okay. First, we have the minutes. Everybody should have the minutes for May 11th.
Yep.
Anybody wish to modify or change or approve
Well, I
as?
came on May 18th.
Yeah, I know. We showed Alan showing up about 160 hours late.
One small comment, John, and that is the sable palm trees. Sable is spelled S-A-B-A-L.
A-L, okay, we'll
Yeah.
make that modification. I didn't know if it was E-L, L-E, so I took a guess.
Okay.
Anybody want to approve the minutes, please?
I move we accept the minutes
As amended.
as amended.
I second.
Thank you. Pete, do you have anything you wish to enlighten us with off the top?
Yeah, I was just thinking, I can remember as far back as I can remember, twice a year at our monthly meeting, we had tree trimming on the agenda because the following month, Brown was coming out. So we designate trees that had to be trimmed, and with the exception of a hurricane or a disease or something, we didn't address it. And lately, with this palm business, every month we have tree trimming on the agenda all the time. It's like banging away at the same thing. And I remember we've lost oaks in hurricanes. We've lost pines overnight from borers. Probably the most resilient tree we've had is the palm trees. We've had a natural death just recently and here and there. But other than that, we've had great luck. And I don't know if we're just looking for problems or what, but I'd like, even now, the board had to get involved. They've never been involved before with the tree trim, and they left it up to us. We handled it and it was fine. So I just want to get back to that a couple of times a year, talking about trees, what we're gonna do, and Brown comes in and handles. And I mean, it's even gotten so silly, a couple of people sent an email to me threatening if we didn't trim their palm tree, they would. So I just think it's got a little out of hand, so I'd rather get back to what we used to do. That's all I got. That's the thing that's been bothering me.
Thank you. It's duly noted for the minutes. Staff report, Jeff?
You have two sheets for May and June and 3 from West Bay. We did a lot of planting over the past couple of months. 3 things of significance. At Cluster V, we put a boxtail palm and forest milkweed hibiscus. We put a shaded lady in as a memorial for Lane Johnson in front of 319. We also put some gaillardia at the front entrance to our property on Cortez Road, and the power box is a Q&R and 2 of the office spots up front. These plants should do significantly well. They're sun tolerant, they are drought resistant, and so far the ones we have put in have done exceptionally well. They're also now blooming, they're growing. The ones we put in I have not stopped blooming since we put them in back in May. So I think going forward, I think they might be a good plant for the summer season before the people come down, before we switch them over to impatiens, or you might just want to keep them all year long, see how they do.
Well, they look like, as Jeff said, they're growing well in the boxes that we have. So well, we've ordered 286 of more of them to finish out the other entry boxes, which are going to be picked up tomorrow. And even though we've had the severe drought that's affected the turf, I mean, these plants are growing beautifully.
Like, I agree with you, Jeff. Maybe we could just keep them, all year if they're going to last.
I mean, I haven't read anything about them being resistant to cold, but I know they're drought resistant. We've had a couple of 80-degree days, so they might not do so bad in the cold weather. But your ending balance for the 2 months is $6,638.03. And your total rainfall for the 2 months was 7.2 inches. So we are creeping up on the rainfall.
And we did have a nice little shower yesterday afternoon,
Yes, half inch.
and we had one last week, over the weekend, so we're starting to get a little bit of the rain.
And we had one in the middle of the night.
Yes.
Yeah.
John, if I may ask a question, it indicates on the May Brightview that they applied 20-010 fertilizer. Now, is that fertilizer applied just to the turf? Is it applied to our hibiscus and other plants? Is it what's it? Where's it put on?
My understanding is the turf. From what-
Okay.
I mean, because their applications was primarily turf.
Okay. Well, the question then I have then is, are we fertilizing our plants and are we fertilizing our trees?
Trees twice a year. Plants, is my understanding of the contract is 4 times a year, and turf is every other month.
Every other month. I think palm trees are twice a year.
Twice a year.
Twice a
Trees are twice a year. Yes, sir. Does that help, Chris?
Yeah, yeah. One of the suggestions that I want to make is that it appears that we have some potassium and magnesium deficiency in some of the Canary Island date palms, and that I would suggest that perhaps we either have Brightview address that, or we address it ourselves with some specific potash, magnesium fertilizer. I'm guessing you could get that at Big Earth if you needed to.
I think that since we have about 14 of them, that's about it.
Yeah.
But maybe 8 on the boulevard and a few scattered around that thing. We should be able to do that ourselves.
Yeah, I would hope so.
Continuing the staff report, I marked 90 trees for non-trimming for the SABAL trees. And Brown will be here next Tuesday to start trimming. There's also 8 palm trees that have to come out due to demise. There's 2 Norfolk pines that have been marked to take out. Looks like lightning strikes. And there's about 12 oaks that need trimming interior to get the wood out that's falling down. We had one car slightly damaged up in front of 125 in one of the small windstorms that we had. And so these trees have been, this report was given to Brown to specifically address these with locations when they come out.
Is the oak tree behind 401? It's got a dead branch. It's kind of underneath that concrete walkway that goes to the pool.
I'll look at that.
Aims towards 401.
It may not be. I'll look at it for sure. Okay. And we might be able, how high is it? We might be able to get that ourselves.
I don't know. You'll have to take a look at
Yeah,
it. I wasn't
okay,
paying that
yeah.
much attention when
All
I
right.
saw it.
Thanks, Sue. Yeah,
You did have that oak tree come down on the boulevard too.
yeah.
Excuse me. Am I
So,
able?
we've got,
Okay.
plus the fact that, again, I'm not sure how yet we're going to deal with the 90 trees I marked not to trim, because they do have seed pods in them. And Steve Abiel is not here yet. He may come, he may not. Did some research and said that one of the worst things we can do is not cut the seed pods out of the existing trees.
But that video Tiff had showed them using a selective little thing that
Right,
reaches into the tree and yanks it out.
Yeah.
Rather, their method is to trim all the leaves off to get to the seed
Yeah.
pods.
you know, that's why we're dealing with them, and they're coming out early to deal with it personally before they start. But there, I mean, what I'm trying to say is there may be some charges for those trees that aren't gonna be
Can I
trimmed.
have some yellow tape for my tree in my courtyard,
You
so I don't turn into a Karen again this year?
You want, okay?
Yeah.
Okay,
Is,
hold on, Chris is saying something.
is the palm tree or the tree in front of 178, has no vegetation
Yeah,
on top? Is
That's,
that
that's one of the palms coming out.
okay?
The whole top of the tree fell down,
I wonder-
palm tree, and it's about about 30 footer.
30 foot, yeah, I think it
Yeah.
was struck by lightning.
Well-
And, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, one of the things that I was disappointed in is in Lakeside, we only had 4 trees marked with a yellow tag. Out of 131 sable palms. And so I just think that the process of designating trees that don't need to be trimmed this year lacked a lot.
Well,
There seems to me that we could have easily designated in Lakeside alone 80 to 100 trees that don't need to be trimmed. I just don't understand how what criteria was used to determine what was trimmed and what's not being trimmed. And we have somewhere around 700-800 sables.
Yeah.
And so we're not going to trim less than 10% or about, maybe about 10% when we could be perhaps saving a lot more money by not trimming as many as we're going to trim. And the ones that I looked at in Lakeside, I'd love to have you come over here to Lakeside and walk me through how these decisions were made, because I look up and I don't see any reason. And most of the trees in Lakeside, most of the sable palms, I see no reason for them to be trimmed. They might have one frond coming down. It starts in the 9 to 3 range. And surprisingly enough, it looks like Brown left that frond there last year. So it looks to me that Brown did a pretty good job of leaving green, healthy fronds. And if we're gonna trim fronds on hundreds and hundreds of sables, we're going to be trimming green, healthy fronds. And at least in Lakeside, almost every one of the trees that I've looked at is already at a 9 to 3 from last year. And I don't see any reason why we would want to go in and trim all these trees and spend lots of money. It seems to me that we could be saving, if Lakeside's an indication of some of the other areas, we should be saving $20,000 to $30,000, and we're not going to do that. If we're gonna not trim 90, then what? We're going to save a couple, maybe 1,000. I mean, what are we paying? $50 a tree?
No, we're paying 27. But and let me address that, please, Chris, and I'll be happy to walk with you. It certainly was, I'm the one that did it, okay? And maybe your view of 9 to 3 and mine are something different, and I'll be happy to change it. But I took into effect a strict 9 to 3, in my opinion, anyway. And like I said, I'm not debating yours. And anything that's anywhere near the building or could be near the building, and that's where probably our biggest difference is going to be, because there are several palms that are very close or will be close to the buildings within the next 3 or 4 months. And so we hear from Jim and neighbors. I mean, we're getting beaucoup calls right now about tree trimming. And as I guess Pete's even heard some of people saying that they better trim. And there are certain people in Lakeside alone that have told me no matter what we do, theirs are going to be trimmed to 10 to 2. And so it's almost like, subjective, but I'm not debating what it should be, okay? And it would be about $2,500 in savings, and I'm all for savings. And if we'll go look at them together, Chris, if you'd like, tomorrow.
I could do it tomorrow morning.
Okay. Okay.
Hey, John,
Yeah, go ahead.
John, why are people so insistent on wanting to trim their trees? Is it appearance?
No, it's just,
Well,
no, it's just, they weren't interested before. It's just this whole conversation got out of control. One talks to the other and said, one actually said that they're going to get a tall ladder and do a 10-2 on their tree out front.
But why? Why do they think a 10
No
to 2?
reason, no reason, none whatsoever.
well,
No,
I'll
no.
go with two. Let me go with two, Pete, at least. Number one, you're right. I think it's more aesthetics than anything else.
Yeah,
It's we're getting general comments like we don't look as neat and trimmed as we used to be, that type of thing. I think it's more that than anything else, Gus.
Okay. Well, maybe we got to do a better job of educating everybody that this is for the health of the trees, not for appearance.
exactly. Yeah.
And we sent out
We've been trying to do that. We've been trying to put up information on the website that explains why we should be doing the way we're doing it the way we're doing. And that at a 10-2 cut is not a good cut for very few trees. And cutting green fronds, which is what we're going to do. We're going to cut a lot of green fronds, is not good for a tree. I mean, it's a healthy frond. It helps the tree stay healthy, and it just doesn't make sense to cut them. I know I hear that people complain to John and Peter, but I don't hear any complaints coming to the committee.
well, I guess.
No, and I told them, Chris, a couple that got in touch with me, I told them to go on the website and read the material. That's the answer I gave them,
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that.
Can I interrupt for a second?
Go
Can you
ahead.
hear me?
Please go ahead.
I did want to put a caveat. The website is very informational when it came to the sable palms, and if everybody can direct themselves to that, it pretty much explains everything regarding that, which is done very well. And my second question is, if we have a concern, are we to wait till section 8 of this meeting if we're talking about trees and oaks and things like that, or do I bring that up at this point? This is
We
our
have
first.
we have agenda item of owners' comments, and I think it would be best then because we can deal with it then.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I have something.
All right, Sue.
I thought I heard the video that she brought from the state Florida, whatever, was very informational, and if that could get put on the website, that would be.
Can we put a video on the website, Chris,
Sure, absolutely.
A link to it or something like
or
that.
a link to it?
Yes.
It
Yeah.
might even be either, I'm not sure, but I'll check Chris and I'll send you an email with the link if it's not.
Okay.
Showed the danger of, like if you trim it too much, how it can cause the tree to fall, it
Yeah.
weakens it, and I don't know if it covered the part about leaves being the food for the plant to make the plant grow, but that was a good point.
Yeah.
But
Well, at least we're not like our neighbors who just did pencil cuts.
Oh, yeah, those look terrible.
Yeah.
well, and then I think part of the reason why the things are looking a little shaggy is we are down like 3 people. So they're trying to maintain acres and acres that is a wildlife, like everything grows and it's rained a couple times and you're down 3 people.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons why they're trimming the trees this time of year is because that's when we can get the best price for tree trimming. Because they're any complaints I've heard about are like there's a dead leaf or 2 dead leaves. Well, that's when you're supposed to trim the trees. Like if you had a house you know, you wouldn't be calling the tree trimmer to give them hundreds of dollars to trim your tree unless you had a bunch of brown leaves. And I'm talking about a bunch of brown leaves, not just one brown leaf.
Mhm.
Plus, there's 850 some units here, and we're, you know, we're trying to make everybody happy, but are we making 800 people not happy by listening to the 20 people that are, you know, saying something, or does that 20, because the board's trying to decide, does that 20% represent everybody? Or does it just represent, you know, 20 people?
Well,
And it's a hard decision for the board to be able to make.
well, from my side is we try to listen to everybody, but we also try to explain that there are benefits in some of the things we do.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank goodness we're not down to 3 people anymore. We're only down 1 from what our full staff is, and we're looking like crazy to get that up. But now that Eddie's back from vacation, things are getting a little bit better squared away.
Okay, yeah,
Because-
because the last meeting you weren't here, so the number was still 3.
Yeah. So that's starting to get back into it.
How do
But-
people who don't have computers or aren't technologically competent get this information that you're talking about on Facebook?
Well, some of it is hard, you're right, but we have posted recently, or we're gonna post it today, Jeff, I guess. You know, why the tags are on the tree and when it's gonna commence and things like that, so they'll be told about that. And we also are told how the trimming process is gonna be, the 10 to 2 and the 9 to 3. So hopefully they'll look at the bulletin board and that'll help a little bit.
Okay.
One
So
thing, Alan, we've been offering classes on using the website.
Have you had a chance, you haven't had a chance to go to the classes on using the website or anything like that? No.
I don't have a
Ah,
computer.
he's got a very good point here, Chris.
My assistant passed away few years ago.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So, all right, so trimming, obviously, I guess is subjective. It certainly wasn't, when I did them, I certainly didn't want to put them, I thought I was doing the right thing. All I can do is, you know, like I said, Chris, we can go out and tag more.
Well, I think we obviously disagree on that 9 to 3 definition, and perhaps we should be much clearer on what 9 to 3 means.
Yeah. You know, it's my job to do the right thing. So it's not like I'm trying to be an obstructionist to trimming or anything like that. So, and what the committee wants should be what is done. Simple as that. With board approval, and the board's approved it. The only augmentation was today was to report that the board included at Tiffany's request that the canary / pineapple, whatever you want to call them, palms would be into the 9 to 3 also instead of the 10 to 2.
If I might add to that comment, John, one of the things I sent out last night was an email about Fusarium wilt, which is a very, very serious disease for Canary Island date palms. And one of the recommendations by the Florida Extension Service is that when you're cutting the fronds from the Canary Island date palms, you should sanitize your equipment between trees. And so I would ask Brown if they could do that.
Yeah, I got your email and I was going to address that too, because I agree with what you're saying there, and I copied it to take to Brown to show them exactly what we want.
Great.
That's a standard that ought to be used for pruning anything.
Pretty much.
My
Any
point,
tree, any bush, you ought to sanitize between plants.
like the witch's broom that was in the tree in front of my house is now being spread to the, you know, next tree that they trim. So now that tree's starting to get witch's broom.
Witch's broom is usually only in oleanders, is it in something else?
I think that was a holly.
Holly. Well, the hollies something. The hollies don't seem to do well after 3 or 4 years. Jeff. No, we've taken a lot of hollies out and put in the
Shady ladies. Well,
shady
the
ladies.
holly took out in front of my place that had witch's broom. So I'm assuming maybe
But
that's
that
the reason
will-
why they're not doing well is because we're spreading it, which is
Could be.
true
Could be,
throughout the
Yeah.
community.
because we do those trimming mostly in-house, and if we're doing that, we gotta stop that practice, sure. But your expertise, I didn't realize it was witch's broom that was causing the problem to those. Thank you. I guess we're at committee comments continually. Anything else?
I just want to chime in one thing, to Sue's comment about using that, tool to take out the flowers on the tree. I agree with what John said, that it might cost us a little bit per tree to take them out, but I did talk to Steve about it. He mentioned that he also had interest in talking to Brown about it to make sure that they could use that tool instead of just sawing them all off, like,
Mhm.
what is, of course, easier to do. It takes more time to do the targeted tool, but he mentioned that he would bring that to Brown too.
Good.
Yeah.
Even though he's not gonna be at the meeting.
Oh, he's not gonna be at the meeting, gosh.
He told me
guess
he
that was
didn't know if he
useless.
could or not, but I've got it ready to go.
Okay,
I
thank you.
don't know whether this committee comment or an owner's comment, but one of my neighbors asked me about removing trees or bushes actually in the courtyard. And I told him that was, I thought, completely within his discretion.
What the documents say, Alan, is it is the courtyard is a limited common element pertinent to the unit, where the association has responsibility to maintain, but the owner can do that on their own. So they have the right to do anything in there, just like some have taken out trees and putting in patios and what have you.
Yeah, well, his question was as to a tree that was in there, small one, that had parasite, what he called parasite plants on it, and it was killing it off. Now, at the same time, I also noticed that across the alley from him in the next unit, a tree that I'd always, a bush that I always thought was healthy, also had those.
The air plant, are
Parasite.
you talking about the air plants or?
Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
that's what it is.
Air plants, yep.
Well, I think that a lot of people get parasitic and confused with another type of plant that also is called epiphyte. And because I planted a bunch of epiphytes on the palm trunk that's in my courtyard, because I didn't want to look at a telephone pole. So the epiphyte is simply something that is hanging on the side of the tree, but it's not taking anything away from the tree. So orchids, orchids are epiphytes. There's this, a lot of different types of bromeliads, which the air plant is a bromeliad. And so when you see all this sphagnum moss hanging from the tree, it's not taking away from the tree. The tree may have a lot of sphagnum moss in it that's not doing real well, but that's probably because there's more light coming through that tree that's not doing so well. And the, moss, is in its greatest habitat. It's partly shaded, it's moist, and it's taking off like crazy, but it's not parasitic. So you'd have to actually look at the plant and then Google it and figure out, is it an epiphyte or a parasite?
So you're saying basically that air plants and moss are not necessarily injurious to the tree.
Right, they're an
Interesting.
epiphyte, they're just hanging out,
Okay.
they're not taking anything away from the tree.
Well, I can see where people will say that it must be hurting
Must
the
be
tree.
killing the tree
Yeah.
because the tree's half naked, but
Yeah.
There's another reason that the tree's half naked, it's not the moss.
Well, this is becoming very educational. Thank you.
You can collect the moss if you want to, I mean,
With everything else we're
I'm not
doing.
in the world of saving moss. If you don't like the moss, take the moss down, but it's not like it's hurting anything.
You don't make pillows out of it or anything like that.
Well, not anymore. They used to years and years ago.
That's
And it's
true.
nice to use to help attach a orchid to the tree. You can use it as a little spongy material instead of buying it and stick it on there and stick it on the tree.
Thank you. Other comments?
No.
Now we can have owner comments.
Oh, can I go first?
Yes.
Chris and Tony Shalaba, 141 Pinehurst. John, just wanted to find out if you were able to address with the landscaping committee or if this is when you do it. Our conversation the other day when you came by on your golf cart to check out that oak tree
Yes,
that is compromising our wall and our grade, the height and grade that's busting up our patio blocks. And to me, more than anything, my mother that's 87 years old, plus either one of us, those patio blocks are coming up to a point where tripping and falling is a very high percentage just to get out the back door. The wall is also a safety issue because it will collapse at some point. It looks like it's been patched a few times in the past. Don't know if there's work orders for that. And there's also the security risk if that wall does collapse. And that high grade from those roots coming in, lifting up everything, is exceeding the levels where when it does rain, the water is rushing in to our lanai. Now, the former owner, I think it was Tommy, before Sharon, he put in a nice gutter along the bottom of the sliding glass doors with a little cap on it to help grab some of that water and push it out outside the wall. But at this point, I don't see it getting any better. I was told by one of the maintenance guys that the oaks are protected in the state of Florida, and I know you could prune them and do that, but I have no idea as far as root wise if that can be done with roots and still keep the tree. I mean, it's a beautiful, beautiful tree.
well, here we go, because yes, I did come out at the meeting, and also subsequent to that, as far as the gutter issues, Jim was out. We're making a plan to help redirect the water there, and that will be taken care of. We've had a couple support posts that to kind of take priority that Jim's working on, but I would hope by next week we can help you with the water flow. That's number one. Number two, I had conversation with John Brown, who is an arborist or has arborists on his staff, and we're going to take a look at it to see what they can do, because we can't just trim a part of the roots without having some assurances that it would fall or something in a big storm. It's a big tree. It's like a $2,000 or $3,000 removal tree, and it's a beautiful tree. And I know you don't particularly want to have it out, but you also have other problems. In other areas, we've been able to do some root pruning, some limb pruning or whatever to save, to make the situation. But I'm not an expert. And I took Steve Abule, our president, out there, and he agreed that neither one of us have the expertise to figure out exactly how to trim that tree. That's why we're waiting for Brown on Tuesday.
Okay, great. Here. The only other question I had, and it's more of an informational, when I was on the website, and perhaps I missed it, and in our new resident packet, the brush pickup that's scheduled Tuesday, as far as bundling it and bagging it for the guy that comes and picks it up. He was out, he comes every Tuesday, and he's out there for a long time with the other neighbors because we have yet to trim our patio back area here at this point because we're working on several other things. So when we got to that point, I wanted to know what the procedure was because I couldn't really find it. So if it is on the website, if you could direct me to where it says you must have it bundled or bagged, that would help because I'm noticing, and I'm not pointing out any neighbors, the gentleman that picks up all the brush every Tuesday, it's taking him a lot longer to do that because of the fact these other residents are not bundling or bagging their brush. I mean, he's literally out there 3 to 4 times longer than it would be. He explained to me, he said he wishes everybody would know if they could just bundle and bag it, it would take so much time off and be more efficient as far as his time is concerned to get this done. So I just don't know if people don't know and they're unable to find the answer to that, but I was able to, I reached out to the landscaping person and sent an email, and he was the one that directed me as to what day it comes and what to pick up and how to bundle it and all that. So when I sent the email, I was able to get an answer, but maybe it's just a matter of people being ignorant and not knowing that they should be doing that. I just thought it would save time for the maintenance guys, and they could be working on other things then and help improve the lovely area.
Well, it's a good point. And a couple of issues, yes. Would it help to be bagged? Yes, and I would say the vast majority of people do that. Bundling is a little different story. If I would advise you, I'd probably advise you differently than Jeff might advise you, because he supervises the people picking up. But we're trying to help everybody in any way we can, and want to remove the debris. And so if they get it out of their courtyard, no matter how it is, we're going to pick it up and get it out of there. And we're more concerned about that and having it scattered around and whatever, then we're trying to help everybody as much as we can. Let's put it that way. And that's, I guess, the only way to answer it.
Well, I'm sure some of the elderly people have issues with trying to do some of that work and probably limited on
That's
some.
part of it too, no question about it. But the vast majority, because I'll help with pickups myself, and when we were short of people, and it certainly is easier if it's a bag. The problem I've seen lately is that many people are going to these big Home Depot paper bags, and they really take a lot of material, but the bottom falls out because it gets wet every time you pick it up, and it causes more problems.
Right, I've got both. I've got the twine to bundle the larger items such as branches, and then I also got a clear bag that I would bundle the leaves in when I go to put mine out. But yeah, I think some of it might have to do with the physical capabilities of some of the
Some of the people,
residents.
sure.
Right.
Appreciate your help in any which way.
Hey, John, can I ask
Yeah.
one question? And this might not be as relevant to things, but on the gutters that we have issues with sometimes with getting cleaned out, I heard something about that they don't allow the gutter guards to be on these things that constantly get filled up because of the trees that are constantly spewing leaves off of them. I mean, I clean my yard all the time, and we get leaves piling up, and then I look up in the gutter and I can see my gutter all filled with leaves again, and they just got done being done. Do we not allow the gutter guards? Is it something we can do? Is there something that's involved with that does or doesn't allow them to help with that? Maybe you can just help explain it. I don't know if it's part of this conversation. Maybe it's private, but I just figured I'd ask.
No, it's important because it crosses disciplines. Obviously, it crosses the buildings committee and the grounds committee with droppings. And thank goodness we have these trees. I mean, all kidding aside, if we took out a tree that everybody wanted it because it drops leaves, we wouldn't have any trees in here, because it's an issue for everybody. But one of the issues with the gutter guard is the fact that our roofs are not pitched.
Right.
And having a pitched roof would wash them down and maybe even wash them over those guards. But we have found that there's been several people that have put them up that have taken them out because it hangs up the leaves even more because of the non-flow. And then thirdly, when an owner modifies an element, then they take responsibility for it. In other words, we wouldn't tell you, we would not tell you not to put those guards if you felt you needed it, but then you would be responsible for clearing it and anything that hung up on there, because all of a sudden it's not ours anymore.
Well, I appreciate the explanation on it. Thank you.
I did.
I may comment on the pickup of green material or refuse material. I don't think we have something on the website that clarifies that. And we'd be happy to put that up and probably put it best on the landscape committee page. Tuesdays seem to be the standard day. Is that right, John?
It is.
And it's preferred I know it's not always possible. It's preferred that you put your trash in the back of your unit. But I know several people right near me here. It's easier for them to put it out in front of their unit. And so I don't think does it make a big difference to the guys, John?
Not at all. As a matter of fact, sometimes it's easier in the front, but I think a lot of the debris you see in front is from front courtyards.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I don't want to track it through the house to the back, you know?
Yeah, you
But
want to put.
Yeah,
it on that spot.
I'd say probably 70% of the stuff is always in front. Would you say, Jeff?
Yeah.
I'm making this comment as a owner, I guess. There's a tree in front of 171. It's really in bad shape. Ferns were planted around the base of it. And there's some concern that maybe that has taken all the water away from the tree and it's not in good shape.
Well,
I don't know whether it should be removed or.
In front of 171
Yeah.
in the courtyard, or
No, it's out in front of where the stairs are,
oh, okay, all right. We'll take a look. Would that be the case, Sue? Would planting ferns at the base take away any?
Both plants are gonna compete for the same amount of moisture, but for the most part, we give them plenty of moisture, so I wouldn't think so.
I really don't know.
Yeah.
That just
Well,
was raised
we'll look
to
at
me by.
But if it's at the base of the stair, it may be surrounded by concrete, which might be more of an issue of adjusting the water.
I don't know, but there was a question raised by another owner and by the occupant.
But we'll look at it and get a report, okay?
I'm just throwing it out there so I can get rid of it.
Okay.
I had one more comment if I
Sure.
can. Work orders
Yeah.
for grounds and landscaping. If it's outside of our unit in like the parking area, for example, railroad ties in our area, we've got railroad ties that encase around the trees in the parking lot that are rotted and disintegrating and breaking off and people are tripping on them. Is that something I just put a work order in? Or
Yes.
do I?
Yes,
Okay.
please do. We'll take a look at it.
Thank you.
Anybody else with comments?
How did we decide to spell stable?
AL,
At the end.
SABAL.
All right. Oh, I'd give us something that everybody could.
I guess we schedule the next meeting, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, the third Thursday in August, which would be
17th.
17th. Okay,
And we may want to get together on that. I think what we'll have is a discussion of a budget, because before the September meeting, the budget committee will be looking for your figures for their meeting on September 11th. So we'll get together, Pete, you and I,
yeah, okay, sure.
and distribute the rest of the committee to make sure that everybody's needs are taken care of.
Okay, good. That'll work. Yep.
Anything else?
I looked up how cold hardy is Gaillardia. Is that what the question was earlier? Most varieties are hardy in zone 3 to 9 and typically won't need to worry about winter care as a careful mulching of the roots or moving plants to a protected area. So you don't need to worry about doing that.
Right.
And that might be a yearly plant.
Yeah.
A long plant.
I mean, they're certainly filling in, and you know, and initially they're kind of
Yeah.
all over the place, but as they grow, it's going to be interesting. If you look at what's his name under Lane Johnson's unit, Wayne, he's had those in the ground now for almost a year, and boy, they're just flourishing, just really flourishing.
And the ones that were put in the pots, they were just a little 4-inch plant. Maybe about 2 or 3 inches high, they were done last month. And you can see they're
Well, and the other plant that looks like impatient, but it's a little bit more cold hardy is vinca, and the vincas usually can grow for
Yeah.
like 2 years instead of just a couple months.
He's a board member.
Same as the impatiens.
Anything else from anybody, please?
No,
Very-
I'm all set.
Very informative, thank you.
Thank you all for attending, and we'll see you on the 17th, if not before. And Chris, I'll see you tomorrow. What time's good for you?
About 9 o'clock?
If I'm home from the game.
Okay.